Thunder's Mouth Theatre presents Episode 7 of Season 7, in which Helen is confronted by her oldest friend Joey, who wants to get the story of this superhero stuff straight. They met up in New York in the 1960s. Joey now lives in Sydney with her husband Steve, where she is a partner in Balliol Wilkinson Publishing.
Now, let me get this straight. You, Helen Doherty, my oldest and dearest friend for almost 60 years, Miss Sensible Shoes herself, you are telling me that you have this superpower for blowing litter up off the streets and sending it out into outer space, and you managed to train dogs to do it too. So it was all down to you.
Not entirely down to me. I did have help from friends in high places.
High places as in Mount Olympus?
Believe it or not, Joey, yes.
And you assure me that you have not totally lost your marbles.
I know it sounds like it, and sometimes it feels like it.
And the reason I haven't been able to contact you lately is because you've been hanging out in a safe house in the wilds of Middle England to avoid the press.
Northern England, actually.
Whatever, you did all of this, and you couldn't tell me.
Oh, Joey, I am so sorry. I would have if I could, but they thought it wasn't safe for anybody who knew about it. Joey, you know what the paparazzi are like.
Oh, I do, that is for sure. So you were protecting me.
Believe it or not, I thought I was.
Okay, I take your point. I can see that. And I'm grateful. To be honest, I don't think I would have taken kindly to being stalked by those paparazzi, so thank you.
You're welcome.
So, what's changed?
Well, what's changed is that people generally seem to have accepted the way things are now, so it's no longer newsworthy. But the next stage is going to be different, very different. It'll require a lot of publicity. It has to be done right, done good. Well, I don't know, what is the correct grammar there?
You are trying to save the planet and use the correct grammar? You are nothing if not ambitious, my darling.
Oh, is that what it is? Oh, Joey, I'm just plodding along, trying to keep my head above water in all the melee of craziness that surrounds me at the moment.
Well, I agree. I don't know that I would have coped with having a bunch of immortal gods turning up on my doorstep with quite the equanimity that you seem to have managed.
Well, I did have Janie on hand to keep me somewhat grounded. And it did take a while to figure out what was going on exactly. First, it was just a huge lark, a bit of fun. You know, sending rubbish into outer space and then finding that I could pass it on to stray dogs. But things started to go wrong, and I realized how dangerous it was. And then it seemed all I had to do was wish for something, and it happened. Before I could even think it through, you know? Make sure it was actually something worth pursuing.
That must have been quite a challenge, because you do like to consider things very thoroughly, as I recall.
Yes, I do. But then we realized that mostly it had something to do with nature, life, the earth itself, wanting to be cleaned up. And it wasn't keen on humans using its produce for nefarious purposes.
Oh, you mean the drugs from the poppies?
Exactly. So we figured out there must be some connection, and the names of those two people who approached me in the first place, Dio and Sephi, we thought Demeter, goddess of nature, her daughter Persephone, who marries Hades and brings the spring back every year when she comes home to her mother for half the year. And Susie's very odd professor, Le Penseur, that just happens to be the French version of Hades.
I would not have thought of that. You were always more interested in mythology, those kinds of stories, weren't you?
True, but it wasn't until I was able to confront Artemis that I was able to really put it all together.
I still don't understand why they couldn't just do it all for themselves. Why did they need to involve
Well,
you?
because their powers are severely limited these days. All they can do is what certain humans ask of them. They figured out that I cared enough about the environment to get some kind of a campaign kick-started. So they helped me to blow the litter up, and then Hermes came along to organise the dogs to help out safely, and now
they've got something special lined up that they want you to do for them.
Well, not quite. They want to help me to get something to happen that I want to happen. They can't do the thing, but they can put on a show to get people to pay attention to me.
Oh, so that's why you want the press involved now.
Exactly. We need to get action from the powers that be, and I'm pretty sure they won't get involved unless I can get them to commit to it publicly.
Of course, because politicians are only afraid of one thing.
Yes, losing power. So they need the voting public to be on their side, and the press has a lot of influence.
Well, they do, but social media seems to have even more
Exactly,
these days.
And Georgie is going to get the ball rolling on that side.
So I gather.
Good evening, this is the World Service, and welcome to Top Notch with Heather Smith, the current affairs program which brings you the latest news about people and events which influence or have the potential to influence our daily lives. This week we'll be announcing, live on air, the nominations for the UK Environmental Philanthropist of the Year Awards. And on the line, waiting to discuss them with me, is Lord Peter Cage, Chair of the Environmental Philanthropy Research Group. Good evening, Peter, and welcome.
Good evening, Heather. Nice to be here.
Now, it is a very short list this year, isn't it? Does this mean there hasn't been as much environmental philanthropy in the UK, or is there another reason?
Well, I wouldn't say there has been less philanthropic action to do with the environment during the past year. That has stayed about level for the past 10 years or so. No, it's just there were 3 nominations that stood out, head and shoulders above the rest, which was quite unusual.
I see. Well, let's get straight to it. Who are the 3 nominees on the list?
Well, now, this is in no particular order, of course, because we won't know who the actual winner of the award is until the announcement at the gala in a couple of weeks. So I'll read them out in reverse alphabetical order, just to be different.
Nice idea. Off you go.
Well, so we have the Zoological Society for the Protection of Endangered Species for their work with, you guessed it, endangered species. They have donated millions of pounds to support small zoos around the country who are working to restore populations of endangered native species.
Well, that is quite remarkable. What are some of these species that are struggling to survive at the moment?
Well, my favourite is the stunningly beautiful Mazarine blue butterfly. It is actually officially extinct in the British Isles, but there is a small community near the Devon coast that is being watched over by a local team of amateur lepidopterists.
How exciting!
Well, I think so. Next, we have the Society for the Protection of Fossil Beaches.
I'm sorry, fossil beaches?
Yes, these are designated sites around the country where fossils are known to be quite common. Sadly, though, with climate change, they are being eroded at a great rate. So the SPFB have been funding fossil hunters to get to them and collect what they can before they are lost to us forever.
Oh my goodness. Oh yes, of course. That is going to be a disaster.
Yes. And finally, we have the British Nigerian Research Group for their work researching the plant species that have been brought to the UK over the past 200 years, which are now extinct on the African continent. There are departments in several universities who have benefited from the funding provided by the BNR group, and they've been able to source several species back to Nigeria, Ghana and Kenya just this year. Very promising work happening in that area.
Well, now that is something I just wouldn't have known. How extraordinary, and how wonderful that people are raising funds and donating them to such amazingly good causes.
I couldn't agree more. And of course, the award will be presented by the Secretary of State for the Environment at the Gala Dinner.
Oh, the Secretary of State for the Environment. Well, lovely. I look forward to hearing your report back after the event. Thank you, Lord Peter Cage. So your lovely Steve is actually talking about selling the yacht?
More than talking about it, my love. He's actually put an advert up at the sailing club, and he has had a couple of offers.
And what does he plan to do with himself then?
Hang around the flat, annoying me.
No, Come on, you'll love it. No more lonely weekends, being the sailor's widow, staring out over the horizon looking for red sails in the sunset.
Well, there is that. It might, just might be less stressful. Time will tell.
Well, you are the one with the power. Put him to work. Get him to research your trip.
That reminds me, speaking of power, there's something I'm not sure I understand about these Greek gods. You say they don't have the power to change things as they wish themselves.
Apparently not.
All they can do is wait for you to want something, and then they can help it to happen.
Something like that.
So you are the one with the power.
How do you mean?
You are the one who decides what is to be done. They have to do what you want, so you have the power. You control them. Yes?
No, I don't think so.
Well, you tell me how it's different. That's how I see it. Have you left anything out?
I don't think so, but I've never thought of it like that.
Well, you better start thinking of it like that, my love, because that is certainly how it seems to me. You are more powerful than the gods. You are the superheroine.
Yikes!
You said it. Yikes indeed.
Oh, Joey. That was Who's Got the Power? Episode 7 of Season 7 of Am I Old Yet? You heard Mike Rimmer as Lord Peter Cage and me, Floyd Kennedy, as Joey, Helen and Heather Smith. The theme music is from John T LaBarbera's album In the Labyrinth. You can leave a comment at amioldYet.com/reviews. Thanks for listening. Stay safe.